All right, team, welcome back to the stream. Today is October the 5th, Thursday. Just wrapping up for Power Hour. I've been on the road all day, just taking a break to close some positions and get with you guys. Any tickers that you'd like to take a look at, go ahead and post those in chat. Let me jump into the private client fund. We've got some good continued faders. SPY still just chopping around the lows for the last week. Trying to hold that 423 mark on the fibs. Pretty good crush today. First one I wanted to start off with is Rivian. Been swing short on this for quite a while. We had some really good ads over the past few weeks, right? So not a lot of action, just kind of sideways between 20s and 25s. We were expecting that to fail and break down. They came out last night with news of an offering, $1.5 billion. They still lose like $180,000 per vehicle. They're literally paying people to take them. This is a zero, just like Lucid. It's just a matter of time. Like, how long can they prop it up, right? We knew this entire run into 25s was just air, basically gapping up on nothing. They were able to push it for that. We got some put profit on the wins on the long side. But as soon as it was over 25s, we were already selling calls. Those lessons are back in the vault. You can definitely go back and look at July and August. A lot of profit generated. We also shorted the bounces back over 2250 and the retest back over 2250. So you can see that run into 25 this week, where we were able to add back into that, selling the 25, 2250 and $20 calls, adding back into positions and going out a little bit farther. I've got stuff that doesn't expire until March or June of next year. We can see how much they're down on the day today. You can see across the board, everything today is down 40, 50, 60%, anything out of the money, even the stuff in the money, obviously, but there's a lot of premium destruction on moves like this. We've got a lot of short calls in play along with the equity. Plenty of gains to lock in, running into some more finals at this point. I'm already selling into the $15 short calls. You can still look at selling 20s, risking a bounce back over that level. We kind of spent all day at it, just at 19s. We're cracking and selling off into the end of the day here. This is tandem with pretty much all the EVs, all the legacy manufacturers, everything that's not Tesla, right? We've had this thesis for quite a while and it's paying out pretty good. Additional profit today as well. Right, just a little bit of inside day after a gap down, no bounce and reclaim. Still chopping around 34s. There's still room to sell 35 to 37.50 calls on this. Leave room for a retest. They can spike these and gap them up overnight and for a week at a time. A lot of premium available there still also. I'm going to continue selling into some more VXX. Let me lock some profits on a few of these before we get too far into recap and I run out of time. Rivian, number one profit on the day, followed by FSLR. Rivian pushing 17, 18%. I'm going to take off 10% of the position. Let's make it 15. It's pretty big. We're under 1835, covering out on that. FSLR, let's see, pushing 5% on short equity. Another one that we've had a lot of conviction on. We've recapped this a few times this month, but we've just seen some continuation over the last couple of days. We were fading into 150 and talking about all our 150 short calls going out of the money. You can see they tried to hold it sideways yesterday. This morning, sold off that 150 and tapped into 143, trying to close around 145 today. Another 5 points on the day, very low risk, easy fade, and another 5-figure win just on equity. Just take a little bit of that. Then a mix of obviously short calls in play as well. Yeah, the short 150s are now pushing 80%. I'm going to put an order out for an 85% exit. Those were originally sold quite a bit ago. They were 6,500 a piece. My short 200s at the same time were 3,700 a piece. Pretty decent premiums on some long-term contracts and just went sideways. failed VWAP, retested and rejected, and it's just been sliding down the lower band ever since. Related is SEDG, obviously showing continuation. After that gap down and crush on earnings, there was no recovery bounce, and it's continued to sell off in the same slow fade, very low range on the day. Yeah, just continued breakdown. I'm going to see if they can try and bounce them back over 135 and get some add backs here. I haven't put anything back on this. I was more focused on FSLR. If we get a bounce or a fast spike, then I'll look at selling some more. Short call premium on that. I've got finals that are running into 70, 80, and 90%. The swing short equity core is 6.4% after averaging in and getting that additional breakdown from 128s. We're into 120s. John says the sales guidance also sucked on Rivian. Yeah. It is what it is. You can't spend $300,000 to $500,000 producing a vehicle and sell it for a third of that. I just noticed a random one we haven't talked about in a while, TRUP, Trupanion, 11% on swing short equity. A lot of it was built and progressively exited and added back into. Over 28, we're fading into 25. So I'm just going to take a little bit more profit out of this today and see where we go over the next week. I honestly haven't looked at this chart at all, so that's been in play for a while. As far as the semiconductors, also, we did USD for the ETF, bouncing back towards the upper band today. I'm going to add a little bit back to this in the short equity. The core is still 5.9% on the bounce. We did have some covers through 3750s as it faded under that level, so I've just been waiting to add back. I've got Wix, short equity and short calls to take profit from as well. At this point, I was trying to reclaim VWAP, and there's some room back into the upper band, but I'll probably look at selling some $90 calls. Into November, they're about $5.75 a piece. And January, $8.75 a piece. I like the January a little better. If it's a new start for you, you can go up to the 30 delta at least at 105s. That's leaving you some good room as well. Wix, let's see what else. Shopify, even Etsy and eBay, all similar, kind of just choppy, slow fades, right? If we look at seasonality on this, probably just down with a little bit of a bounce attempt through November that ends up making new lows and closing the year flat at lows. All right, so that would put us around 75s or less. If it does continue that, I could see a fade into 80s, a little bit of a bounce to 85s, and then a rejection after that to get us there. Selling calls over 85 to 90 range will leave you plenty of time with the bounce. Speaking of Shopify, let's look at that again too. My lowest strikes are short 45 for October and short 50 for October. These were sold while they were in the money at 65s. You can see the rejection there. I also sold 65, 60s, and 55s at the same time, but all of those have faded out of the money. The only ones that are still in the money are the 45s and 50s. 45s are 21%, 50s are 51%. At this point, I think you can still sell anything over 55 to 60. We're starting to hold sideways. There's been an initial attempt into 55. We're pulling back and kind of double bottoming on sideways support. Through the end of the year, it would typically hold up and make a little bit of a move, but you can see it's very choppy and inside. And overall, maybe a range of $5 to $8. From here, if you sell anything over 60 out into November, December, January, I'll probably go a little farther than that actually, because I've got enough in play. Yeah, March 60s are over 515 a piece at the 45 delta on the short 60 calls. If it's a new start, you can look at the short 70 calls around 275 for a 28 delta. There's still some all right premium in November as well, but I'd go closer to at the money and still risk the bounces. We're 60 days out, so you can get some faster decay if you keep it inside that window. And it's had runs of 2, 3, 5 days at the most, then usually giving that up within a week or two. right? So kind of just build that into your plan. I think anything basically over VWAP on the yearly chart, out of the money right now. Got some premium you can collect and risk a bounce back into it. If it does start to hold sideways, you can also look at selling short puts under the $45 to $50 level for that kind of slow grind through the end of the year. But I think there's enough range and not enough velocity that you could probably take both sides and lock profit on each. Got some more STLD to take a second exit on. We're pushing back towards the upper band. We still have the alert out on Steel Dynamics for 114, 115 range. So I'm probably going to start looking at selling some more 110s to 115s. I think we can make the move into that area. Pretty much any time that it's been over VWAP has just held sideways and had to retest in order to get another bounce. We are coming into earnings as well. So on October 19th, I'd build some time around that and probably stay above the 115 level. Yeah, 33 delta for November and $265 a piece on short 115 calls. You can look at the short puts as well under 95, get a little bit better premium and make it a wider range if you want to strangle them. January 115s are still about 550 a piece at the 42 delta, which is good as well. I'm going to take some progressive profit on that and sell some more. A bunch of Tesla, we've been over that. Short calls against short puts, everything still highly profitable. TSM, I haven't recapped these along with NVIDIA and SMCI. We're getting a little bit of a bounce over the last week or so, but we built in, what was this, over 90s into 92.50. Yeah, on this last bounce into 92.50, we were selling additional short equity, short calls, short the 90s and 95s into January and June. Those are 51% and 27%. I've also got short December 90 calls, pushing 33%. Everything out of the money. We've seen it as low as 85 and progressively locked profit through there. Had a little bit of a bounce and I'm getting ready to add back. I wouldn't mind a faster spike. We still have the alert out for a retest over 90. I'm going to sell some today and probably tomorrow before the weekend. We've got a little bit of a bounce. I'm going to go a little farther than November though. But it's up to you. The 100 strike is right about $100 a piece and it's only a 17 delta. It's up 12% on the day. I'm going to go with the short 90s for December, kind of adding back into that after taking some profit, I guess. I'll close some and sell some more into 375 a piece. And January, the 35 delta is the short 95 calls around 300 a piece. There's also a little bit of a boost on premium in the short 105 calls for about 100 a piece, January expiration. I'm actually going to take some more into February as well and go with the 38 delta short 95 strike, 375 a piece. There's room and time on this. I think that you can look at selling some puts. I'm a little more inclined to just keep the short puts that I have on SMCI and NVIDIA, let AMD and TSM and the index shop around. We still have swing short built on SMH as well. I think you can look at adding back to that also, selling the 150 calls into December or January. January, they're about 750 a piece. That's the 48 delta. If you want to go a little bit higher and limit your risk, then you can sell the 160 strike over 385 a piece and the 31 delta. Really good. Rivian leading top percent losers on the day, negative 23.98%. Gift. Have some more upstart to lock in. This thing's still just slow and choppy and fading on continuation. I think you can still sell the 2750s. We've been over that a few times. This was the last place where I told you that it looked good to add. We did see that breakdown into 25s and really hasn't bounced much this week. they might be able to prop it and get a slow grind into next week, but definitely adding some more short premium on that. Bunch of Chinese tickers. The YumC swing short is 6.7% today. We gapped down again, sold off, and today has just been flat from yesterday. Still crushing premium as well. Those options that we sold last week are already into the 78 and 89% range. Also have the short 5750 calls for January, pushing 57%. That's enough on those. I'll probably sell, well, we can go with 50s or 52s if they have it. There's 5250s at 400 into January. And that would be a 58 delta right at the money. You can go with the short 5750s for a 35 delta at 175 each. There's some into November as well. Same strikes worth looking at. Nike is still chopping around the 95 level. After a fast spike and a bounce, we started selling into those. We've gone a little bit of a pull under 95. It's trying to hold 95 and flag, but it just seems like a bull trap to me. It was a gap up that's gone nowhere. I'm going to continue adding to the short 95 calls for January. They're actually pretty juiced. Right at the money at the 58 delta, there's 675 a piece today. If it's a new start, you can go with the 105s. They're about 250 a piece at the 31 delta. I've also sold all the way out to January 2025 as well. The 105s. Still over 1,000 a piece at a 51 delta. I'm going to go a little bit closer and sell the 9750s and the 95s. Want to get into these before the weekend. I'm still willing to risk bounces and pushes up to 105. There's room to test that upper band. Sometimes we'll see a continued run on the year, but I think it'll be at least flat for the next month-ish. We'll take some more premium out of it. And if it fades or cracks off and closes that gap faster, then that'll really crush the longer term ones. So I'm willing to risk it. If you want time on your side, definitely don't go past December or January. All right, we got a couple minutes. Any other tickers or price points that you want to look at? Give you some options in a certain price range, if that's where you want to trade, or a sector. I'm going to continue taking profit out of Ford and GM. So we built back into Ford over 1250. It's not a lot of range on it, but it definitely crushed those 1250 to $10 short calls that we put in play. There was a bit of a rug pull today into 1169 and bouncing about 30 cents on the close. I think you can still look at selling 12s to 1250s. I'm taking some more out of GM as well. We're slowly fading down the lower band after rejecting that 35 consolidation. Obviously, we saw the contraction of the bands. Now we're getting the direction on it, right? So this is 6.1% on swing short equity. A mix of short calls in the 30 and 35 range all the way down. I think you can still sell into the 30s, risking a bounce. If it tries to bounce, I don't see it going much beyond 3250s. I'm going to leave a small alert out in case it tries to retest, but I really think that there's not much chance of it doing that. The only other one that I didn't take besides Legacy EV was Hog, and that was on top percent losers today as well. I put this alert out for a bounce this morning. There was no bounce. I think you can still look at selling 30 to 35 calls. And this is Harley Davidson, just similar tandem with the sector, right? There's no real reason for it to sell off, but there's no real reason for it to break out either. If you look at January 31s, they're about 200 to 215 a piece at the 49 delta. You can go to 34s for 100 each at the 31 delta. I like a little bit more premium, so I'm going to February. I'm going to go at the money. 30s, just over 300 with the 57 delta. Risking bounces, room to retest. I think this fade continues into low of year and there's no reason to buy it yet. Usually we'd see a bit of a run into the holidays, but I think we've got another month at least before that even attempts, if it comes through. Some simple low risk fades. Didn't want to give you anything too volatile today, but there's, as you can see, a lot of premium to be collected. Abe, how much lower do I think for SPY? I still think we're going to bounce from around here, but we haven't seen that real reversal yet, right? I just, like we talked about back here, this is where we were talking about everybody being late on the shorts. We went sideways for a little bit. We pulled an extra day and a half, but we've recovered that also, right? Chasing into that kind of stuff, especially with options, you don't have any room to maneuver. I'm just looking at the sideways consolidation, and we'll see if it's able to hold that 23% retrace on the fibs. Otherwise, we've got room to the zero, which is just under 415s into 412s. I don't really think we need to go there. The big stuff that was selling off kind of is holding their lows. I mean, if Nvidia and Tesla roll over and some others follow on that, then yeah, maybe we got some room lower. But they've been able to hold the lows and kind of get that sideways slow grind for. We pulled some more short put premium out of Nvidia today. I told you I'm adding to the short calls. I added to the short calls on Tesla this morning after covering some short put premium as well, right? Just an inside day. There's still a little bit of room through 265s, potential into 275s, but I think it's just really slow. And we're going to see a lot more chop over the next couple of months than kind of these moves that we had through the summer, right? Like a lot of tickers that we've talked about, I think the run is pretty much over for the year. There will be bounce attempts, there will be retracements, and maybe we'll get some breakouts over the next couple of months, but looks like October is probably going to be pretty flat. I posted on X yesterday that the S&P 500 is basically flat over the last 800 days, right? So people who chased the highs in 2020, 2021, and didn't lock any profit, there's 3 years of sideways, guys. And a lot of premium in between, right? And those are on some of the biggest runners that had the most outsized moves, Tesla, Nvidia, and the others. So same with the market. The average is flat over the last 800 days. And there's no reason for anything to start ripping or really breaking out on volume. We take what we can get and we lock it in every day. FRPT, take some more equity out of this after the close. 6.7% on short equity. Tomorrow at the open, I think you can look at selling into the 60 or 65 calls. January, yeah, pretty decent, over 600 still. And December, over 500. Worth watching. We're just still progressively taking profit from new yearly highs. We were already selling a lot of premium through the sideways consolidation most of the year. There was a breakout attempt where we were just able to add into the short, continue adding into it on the breakdowns. Now we're back to the low range on the year, right? Markets closed. We can wrap up on that. CART IPO pushing 9.2% just on the equity, mix of short calls and premium in play as well. New yearly low, new all-time low since the IPO. Really good profit. Grateful every day. Awesome. All right, team. Still message me if you have anything else. We'll be live again next week. Thanks so much. Have an awesome day.